Lotus in a Sea of Fire. On June 12, 1963, many people around the world, including the President of the United States, opened their newspapers and looked with shock at a photograph of a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, Thich Nhat Hanh, seated cross-legged in a posture called the lotus position, engulfed in flame. Thich Nhat Hanh is composed and upright. The revered monk, in his mid-60s, had been soaked in gasoline by a younger monk and had then struck a match to set himself on fire. Thich Nhat Hanh immolated himself during the American War with North Vietnam and the Viet Cong. He was not protesting the war, but rather was calling attention to the repression of Buddhists by the South Vietnamese regime, which was allied with the Americans and the West. More monks and nuns followed Nhat Hanh in self-immolation, with 5 more dying that year and even more the next. These deaths were widely reported as suicides in the Western press, but they were viewed as a deep expression of commitment by Vietnamese Buddhists. Despite differences in interpretation, the self-immolations shook the consciousness of readers around the world. For many religions, suicide is a grave sin. In the past, Christians of a variety of denominations who had taken their own lives were denied Christian burial and relegated to plots outside the consecrated cemeteries where their ancestors lay. Buddhism and Hinduism also believe that the souls of suicides suffer serious consequences in the afterlife. But these self-immolations, a young Buddhist monk named Thich Nhat Hanh argued, were not suicides. They were courageous acts of ultimate commitment and compassion. In 1965, Thich Nhat Hanh, then unknown in America, wrote an open letter to the Baptist preacher and civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. In the letter, Nhat Hanh explained that the self-immolations of Buddhists in Vietnam expressed the highest spiritual values of compassion and courage. By explaining the meaning of the self-immolations, he was seeking to enlist King in the effort to bring peace to Vietnam. This letter, quoted in its entirety below, opened a door of much consequence in American and world history. The self-burning of Vietnamese Buddhist monks in 1963 is somehow difficult for the Western Christian conscience to understand. The press spoke then of suicide, but in the essence it is not. It is not even a protest. What the monks said in the letters they left before burning themselves aimed only at alarming, at moving the hearts of the oppressors, and at calling the attention of the world to the suffering endured then by the Vietnamese. To burn oneself by fire is to prove that what one is saying is of the utmost importance. There is nothing more painful than burning oneself. To say something while experiencing this kind of pain is to say it with the utmost of courage, frankness, determination, and sincerity. During the ceremony of ordination, as practiced in the Mahayana tradition, the monk candidate is required to burn 1 or more small spots on his body in taking the vow to observe the 250 rules of a bhikshu, to live the life of a monk, to attain enlightenment, and devote his life to the salvation of all beings. One can, of course, say these things while sitting in a comfortable armchair, but when the words are uttered while kneeling before the community of Sangha and experiencing this kind of pain, they will express all the seriousness of one's heart and mind and carry much greater weight. The Vietnamese monk, by burning himself, says, with all his strength and determination, that he can endure the greatest of sufferings to protect his people. But why does he have to burn himself to death? The difference between burning oneself and burning oneself to death is only a difference in degree, not in nature. A man who burns himself too much must die. The importance is not to take one's life, but to burn. What he really aims at is the expression of his will and determination,